I'm an on-ranker CA. How I can get into these profiles?
So you're working with the IITians of our country or people from IINs. The best time I've in country.
6 years have been done now with BCG. So like what exactly you do in exactly these profiles? Take me through these, please.
So
Yeah, that's so much interesting to listen even and you are working on. I mean,
correct.
it's the Leela system of
That's something you would never do. Or the question was really X wants to acquire Y. Should they do it or not? Then we're expected to run through. That's it.
how much one can expect in these consulting profiles. So, hi, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Mini Podcast Series. Today we have Tahir, and he is a project leader at PCG. So, Tahir, first tell about like how long you have been associated with PCG, like what all you do there, and how's your work experience till date, everything.
So I start with my CA journey. So I qualified in 2014. I got a rank in both IPCC and finance. After CA, for the first year I worked with a mid-sized CA firm that was focused on taxation and litigation. After that, I joined EY. I worked there for almost 3.5 to 4 years. I was part of the transaction tax or transaction advisory team, as they call it now. Post that in 2019, I joined BCG, and it's been almost 6 years. I joined as a senior associate, became consultant, and right now I'm a project leader, which is equivalence of manager. Yeah.
Okay. So Tahir, like you mentioned, like three profiles in a row. Like first the consultant, then
First a senior associate, then a consultant, and then a project leader.
okay, now take me to all these profiles. Like what exactly you have done. Like I more like my friends have recently gone into BCG at this your first level. So I am only aware of that, but associate or something. But for everybody, like you have been working with overall 6 years have been done now with BCG. So like what exactly you do in exactly these profiles? Take me through these, please.
So the way it works is everybody who joins post MBA or with some work experience, they start as a senior associate for 2 years. Then you become a consultant. Again, you spend 2 years as a consultant, and then you become a project leader. And as you go up, 2 years project leader, then principal, another 2 years, then partner, another 2 3 years, and then you become an MDP, as they call it, managing director and partner post, who has a profit share. So that's the level that we have at PCG. For folks who directly join out of say engineering college or CA, they get hired at associate, which is just one level below senior associates. So the work role uh, is like this. So for senior associates and consultants, in fact, up to consultant, associate, senior associate, and consultant, you are part of a team. You are part of a project team. So you are an individual contributor, as we call it, and post PL, post project leader. So project leaders and above, then you are leading a project and a project team.
A team.
So you are no longer an individual contributor. You are a project manager, and as you move up, say PL to principal to partner to NDP, the work largely remains the same. Obviously, the scale at which you do your work increases. So, for example, a principal would be doing much difficult, bigger problems, bigger projects having bigger or more difficult problem statements. Partner would be doing multiple projects. MDP would be doing again more than what partner does. And if I talk about ASACs, as we call it, associate, senior associate consultant. So ASACs may A's and SAs are given smaller modules. So a project, so as soon as a project starts, it gets divided into multiple modules, as we call it, and each person, team member, is given a module. Associate, senior associates are typically given smaller modules with junior client stakeholders. Consultants are typically given bigger modules, more difficult client stakeholders to manage. Plus, they are also expected to give cover to junior team members, new A1s, IC1s. So that's how it works across levels.
That's great. Okay. So basically, as in you grow in the organization, you will be, handling your junior associates and basically the team.
Right. That's how it works from PL and above.
How many people of team you are managing?
So typically, 3 to 4 people is what you manage, but obviously that depends on the actual project, program, etc. So in my previous case, I was managing 4 people. Right now, I have 6. Uh, so that's slightly more than what typically is the average. But depending on again circumstances, case, your seniority, etc., it changes. So 6 is a bit too much, but uh, it's typically how it works.
Yeah, not too much, but six is enough. I mean, you are coordinating with 6 people, that's already enough. Okay. So I have got it. Like, okay, what do you do on these all levels? But how is your work experience till date? Like, how you feel working with BCG with so much? It's obviously it's a prestigious organization to work with. It's a dream of every C aspirant to work with. I'm like, how is your actual work experience till date?
Yeah. So I would say simple answer, fantastic. But if I have to share more details, why do I say fantastic? Uh, so 3 main reasons for me personally. One is the kind of work that you do and the kind of impact that work has. So if I have to give some examples, the kind of projects I've worked on so far in no particular order, just highlighting the big cases that I've worked on. So one case which I cherish a lot is supporting a Middle Eastern company in securing green hydrogen and identifying buyers of green steel. And there we worked with that's yeah.
Yeah, that's so much interesting to listen even, and you are working on. I mean,
Correct. It's the realization of that's something you would never do. No, right. So, yeah, and the work that just apart from the work that we were doing, the people that we were working with. So we were working with very closely with a Middle Eastern government. So correct. So we were negotiating, in fact, right across the table with a minister -2 of a Middle Eastern government, and there were negotiations literally going on. There was a bid as your and our client applied for that bid, and we had multiple rounds of negotiations. On our side, we actually supported our client form a consortium with a European investment fund, with a local Middle Eastern company. So we will be working with uh, great folks around, and obviously, as I was saying, with the government of
with us, I mean, with the country, obviously with the top management of that company or whatever we're doing it.
Uh, the second reason that I believe why I or why I believe the journey has been fantastic is the kind of exposure that he get. Right, just apart from the work that you do, who do you work with? You work with the most senior management folks of a company, CEOs, CXOs, uh, business heads, etc., or function heads. I remember my first case. I was a very junior. But I was made to sit with the credit head of the bank or sit with the legal head, risk head, IT head, etc. Run meetings, uh, and in each case you have a steercom, which is a steering committee meeting where we present to the who's and who's of the company, CEOs, CXOs, CFOs, etc. etc. So second reason is the kind of exposure, the kind of people that you work with. Third is, I would say, the kind of culture and the internal team that you have. So, with say a big consulting firm, the people around you are all experts of their field or all smart people. So you are working with the IITians of our country or people from IIMs, uh, the best mind in the country. Great. That's how I put it. So I think these are the 3 main reasons why I believe the journey is fantastic. Apart from obviously the pay, which is also quite good.
Yeah, I was coming to that pain only. That any pain also because it's obviously there. I believe if you're working with the top leaders and also, I believe it's so hectic.
Yeah, correct. So pay is obviously great, and that's also one of the reasons why a lot of people want to do consulting. Uh, But yeah, this has been my experience.
Fantastic. Okay, now let's come to your interview experience. Like how many rounds you have been with, and how what exactly technical questions you have been faced. Like I have heard, not met up with the people of consulting field, but I have listened to many podcasts on this. So like I have heard like they gave a real life case scenario to that. Okay, that if we're in this and this, what you'll be doing. So like what was your interview experience? No, please share.
So typically consulting interviews are actually pretty standard, I'd say. You are given a case study and you are supposed to solve that case study with the interviewer. What gets tested is one, your problem solving skills, how well you can structure the problem, you can fence the problem statement, without going astray, how well or how good you can, or I would put it this way, take up the yams. How or what kind of questions you would ask. So asking the right questions is also very important. You ask the right set of questions, you get the right set of answers. So that's one problem solving. Second, your communication skills that gets tested. Uh, that too much matters, I believe. Exactly. If you know something, but if you're not able to communicate that well and in the best possible manner, uh, your knowing that thing doesn't help. And communication is not just your English speaking skills. Communication is basically how well you can put through your mindset. Correct. In the least, so the way I put it when I speak to my team is, how can you put this sentence in the least possible words without, you know, changing the message?
Without any filler words or
Exactly. So if you can convey a message in the shortest possible way or in the least number of words, that's what I would call sharp communication. Clear, crisp, to the point, answer first. Again, these are jargons that you would have heard, but this is what you need to do when you're speaking to very, very senior stakeholders who have very short, frame or yeah,
because if you're dealing with the government of any country, you have a very little minutes to explain your concept or whatever you have extra.
correct. So second is communication. Uh, I think largely these are the two skills that get tested uh, during your case interview round. Uh, third is again to a very small extent how confident, self assured you are as a person, but that's very small. So, and coming back to the case study, so you are given a case study, and the case study will not be like a. Don't expect to be it to be like a a big sheet of paper that you are given with all the details. That's not how it works. You will be given just a statement. So you will be asked, okay, X company is facing issues with sales or facing profitability issues since the last 2 years, and they've come to seek your help. What would you do? That's how a case study question would be given. Like a very broad, open question without any details. You are expected to ask the right set of questions, get the right set of details, and build a structure and then solve that. Form your hypothesis, and along with the interviewer, solve the case study. And it's a very merit based approach, I would say.
Okay, so is it like a one-to-one, like, and or they give you some time, like, okay, go out and figure out something and then come back?
No, it's a one to one immediate, I would say, processes. Yeah. So you will be just like the way we are doing. I mean, you'll have a face to face, one on one interview. You will be asked a case study, a statement, the way I said, and then you will be expected to solve that along with the interviewer within, say, 20-25 minutes. So there isn't a lot of time to go back, think, search, research, etc. What exactly is being tested is how well you can structure the problem, how well you can break the problem into a messy framework and ask the right set of questions to get to the answer. And what I also tell people is the process is more important than the answer in such case that they're interviews. So the interviewer is looking to actually understand how well you run the process rather than getting to the right answers. Right. Uh,
Yes, because I also remember that I was giving, I think, Hindustan Unilever interview post qualifying CA. So like they asked a very open ended question to me, like, you come from Jaipur, so tell me how many temples are there in Jaipur. Correct.
So we call it a guesstimate.
So at that time, it was a guesstimate. So at that time, I was a blank because I was facing this first time. But later on, I come to know, okay, they were looking at, obviously, I won't know the exact number, but they were looking at how will I approach this mission.
Yeah, exactly. So you are guesstimate is one type of case study that's also part of most case study in the processes, I'd say.
You remember you have faced such guesstimate or any tricky technical question you remember of your interview?
Not during my interview. So I had, if I have to think, I was given one profitability question, one mergers and acquisition question. Since I come from that background, from EY, so I was asked if, let's say, two companies get merged, what are, uh, or the question was really X wants to acquire Y, should they do it or not? Then you are expected to run through. That's it. And then you are expected to understand what is X company into, what is Y company into, what is their businesses, what will be the synergies, etc., etc. Uh, yeah. So I was not asked a.
I was expecting like if an interviewer is asking me that they'll give me okay half page with full details. I was not expecting okay this is a one line statement. Now they're expecting that you had to frame a correct question first. Correct.
So obviously you practice before that. So there are a lot of case study.
Yeah, I was about to come that what exactly you want that if anybody wants to get into BCD or these consulting profiles, what exactly which materials they should refer.
So there are many case study books or case study interview prep books. There are also online lectures, paid, non-paid. There's a book called Case in Point. Then I am forgetting the names, but I think there's also a couple of books written by folks, consulting folks, basically. I'm forgetting the name of that one book which I really liked. Then there are
No worries, pin me after this podcast. I'll attach to Jasper.
yeah, into that. Then there are a lot of case study books from B schools. So you will have your IM, A, B, C case study books. Then you will have foreign universities, Wharton, Harvard, etc. case study books. So those are the kind of material that you use to refer to case study questions and answers. But the way you prepare is basically you have to find two, three folks uh, and practically solve case studies together. That's how, or that's the best way of practicing case studies, I would say, rather than just reading stuff from books. Uh, and I think one thing that I see people, doing wrong is a lot of people try and memorize structures and they try and fit those structures into the question that they are asked. While you should understand the structure, you should know the structure, but a lot of times you need to think, at that moment. First principle or basic common sense thinking is what is expected. So, what I suggest people is why you learn on the structures, understand how it works, but be open during the case interview. Don't stick yourself to a structure. Just think first principle, right? Just go back to first principle. Think uh, out of common sense. And sometimes interviewers actually appreciate that. As soon as an interviewer realizes that you are trying to force fit a structure into the problem, uh, it doesn't gel well, because then they will suddenly come up with some answer which doesn't fit your framework. Well, ultimately, they are giving you answers to the
And they will come to know instantly.
correct. So so I think that's how you prepare for the case study interviews.
That's really okay. Now, one more question adding up on this that, okay, you were a ranker at Intermediate and Final. Okay, so were you given an edge, obviously, on these profiles? Or my direct question to you is that CA non-ranker, how one can, like I'm a non-ranker CA, how I can get into these profiles, whether I can get into these profiles.
So actually, good question again. As I was saying, it's a very merit-based approach, and I can tell you right now, BCG hires all kinds of people, rankers, non-rankers. Okay, uh,
As you have to it, I have three chances.
oh yeah, no. So there are CA hiring drives which take place. So you would know most big consulting firms just hire out of campus. So they go to these big B school campuses, hire out of there. Uh,
You leave these schools, leave them.
and lateral hiring is very less, but
Okay.
for CAs, at least BCG and Bain are the ones that I know have special hiring drives for CAs, and
Off drives, off campus.
most campus drives, and most of the times I think uh, it's just merit based, right? Obviously, having a rank gives you a edge, but it's totally merit based nowadays. They look at your CV. So there's actually a team behind the scene within BCG, which goes through each and every CV. Then they rate CVs based on uh, different parameters. Rank obviously is one parameter, but that's not the only parameter. We shortlist a lot of non-rankers just because of the other skills that they have. Some people with
Can you name any? I really wanted to know.
So-
Like I have only CA degree. What skills or what any other courses you want me to enhance my CV?
so to get a shortlisted. So three actually, the way we look at CVs, we look at three key areas. One is ACADS, and within ACADS, obviously rank will help you. But even
Is preferable.
correct, but it's even without rank, if you let's say have some good numbers in terms of ACADS, let's say you've done CFA and maybe scored very well there, or you got a rank, let's say in any other field, and I'm just limiting myself to CA and related fields. Let's say if you've done CS and you got a rank there, that also helps. So one is ACADS. Then second is your work experience. If you worked with during articleship with say Big Four or like firms, or if you've done industrial training, let's say in a say a investment bank.
Do they prefer industrial trainees?
Uh, so again, there's no generic yes or no answer. It depends on the kind of work that it done. So if you worked on actually what consulting firms prefer is client facing roles. So if you've done something which is really back end, then it might be a disadvantage. But otherwise, it's all case to case. But yeah, if you've done client facing roles, then that helps. That's what we look for because that's what you are required to do on the job.
The role is
Correct.
Yeah, and that's why they're paying so high.
Correct. And the last thing is extracurricular. There we look for again people who done something extraordinary outside of work or outside of a CATS. Let's say you've played, I'm just saying, some sport at a national or a state level. That helps. I've seen CVs with people, having uh, say performed on stage at at the highest or at very high levels, katha or like dance form, which like writing, all those things help. So these are the three areas: academics, your work ex, and your extracurricular. These are the three areas that you're judged on, not just academics.
Not just a cancer cut. Fantastic. Okay. All right, Tahir. And my another question to you is like, how much one can expect in these consulting profiles?
So I think most consulting firms pay similar. So starting pay outside of or after college, if you're starting, let's say, post MBA or with some work ex as a CA, then you join as a senior associate. There your pay will be roughly 25 to 30. But if you're joining as a fresh CA or an engineer, your pay will be roughly 20 odd. And that as you progress levels, the way I explained earlier, senior associate 2 years, consultant 2 years, etc., etc., you can expect your pay to increase roughly 15 to 25% annually. Again, depending on if it's a promotion year, then your pay will increase by say 20, 25.
I've heard the variable pay is too good in these
Correct.
organizations.
And on top of this, then you get paid variable, which is also called bonus. And that depends on your performance, your level, and obviously to some extent the overall business of the company for that year.
All right, Tahir, thank you so much. I mean, it's an honor to host you today. And thank you so much for taking time.